Happy Cyber Day, everybody. It's the day of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and we're going to close this one out great today. I'd like to start off by saying that my name is Herbert Decker Jr. the Third. Very long name, so everyone just generally call me Trey. With that, you're probably wondering, why am I here? Why should you care? What do I have to offer? That's a good question. I've been wondering that myself the whole entire day. So let me give you a brief background on why I am here today. My cybersecurity experience actually started in IT, but it actually started before IT as a kid. My dad, who's a Vietnam veteran, he used to always wonder about security in the home. Are the doors locked? Is there an intruder involved? Look over your shoulder. And as a kid, you're thinking to yourself, what's wrong with this guy? He's crazy. I'm not gonna say that, right? But there was one element that he used to always talk about. And this is where I'm gonna actually give away my real age. In the 80s, he would talk about computers are the future. Somebody's gonna need to fix these things. Somebody's gonna need to secure these things. Computers are the future. And I remember I had a friend across the street, his family just bought a Commodore computer. And so I was excited, run home, tell my dad, hey, they got a computer, it's this keyboard connected to the TV. And my dad's like, oh, okay. 2 weeks go by, my dad come back with these boxes. Guess what we have? We have a computer too. I'm like, wow, we got a computer. And mind you, this is the 80s. This is around 1986, 87. So I was 10, 11 years old at the time. No one else on the block had a computer besides the friend across the street. No one else got a computer beyond that. So it was just us and the friend across the street, my dad competing against his dad for computers. Didn't know that at the time. And so as the years go on, I play with the computer, I get familiar with it, get into high school, and I decided I wanted to go to a vocational high school. And I know what you're thinking, he's gonna get into computers, right? Right? No, I wanted to get into auto mechanic. I love cars. I'm into the fast and the furious type of stuff. I'm into cars. I love working on cars, fixing cars. I thought I was going to be an auto mechanic. Didn't have nothing against computers, but I wanted to fix things. I fix things with my hands. Things are broken, I fix it. And so my dad looked and said, oh, okay, what other vocations do they have at this school? Oh, he says, okay, you're going for computers. I stopped. I looked at him. He gave me the 1,000-yard Marine stare. And I said, yes, I'm going for auto mechanic. No, you're not. Computers are the future. You're going for computers. The 1,000-yard stare came again. My dad's about 6'2.5". I never grew very much taller after that. So I looked at me in the eye and said, yes, Dad, I'm going for computers. And let's be real, I graduated high school in 1996. Computers was not popular at that time. No one really cared. I understood it. No one cared. It was like the nerd thing. And I love computers in the sense that I've worked on it, dealt with it all throughout my life, but it wasn't enough to keep me going at that moment because I didn't understand what my dad saw versus what I was seeing as a kid. I go in the military. He wanted me to go in for computers, but I didn't. And I got out. I worked a whole bunch of odd jobs to avoid computers. One day, the knock came. I was like, wait a minute, this .com era is getting big. I'm seeing all these different products coming out. The internet's growing now. Maybe my dad was right and I was wrong about this situation. So I called him up. I said, you know what? I've been chasing my tail for a good while. I was wrong. This is the future. So during that time, I went back to get my MCSE A+ Network Plus, thinking I'm gonna become a network admin at this time. It's the early 2000s. Yes, I'm gonna get it. I didn't get the job. Kept applying, didn't get the job. So I said, forget computers. Went into law enforcement. I said, I can do that, no problem. Got the dad was former military, being in the military, it's easy. And after a while, I realized that it really wasn't for me. And I started to press back, let me get back into this computer stuff. So I started to get back into the computer stuff, as I call it. I got into telecom, I got into satellite, became a manager, I did all of those things, but it still wasn't exactly where I wanted to be in IT. And this is where security goes hand in hand. When I got my first IT job after I got my associate's degree, now I have a master's, but when I got my associate's degree, I was hired as an IT manager. I thought I was being hired as a system admin. My first day of orientation, the GM says to me, we just got rid of all of our previous IT staff. We have one guy left. After he trains you, even though he doesn't know it, you're going to be his replacement and become our new IT manager. I was like, okay, I was not prepared for that role, but it sounds cool. And he did the walkthrough. We're walking through, we get to where the NDF is at. This was the biggest shock of my life. First true IT job, and what I see, just open the door. Anybody with a thumb and an index finger can open that door. My cat can open the door because he can grab his paws and flip the door and open it. The door was open. I'm like, wow. I see storage boxes, coffee cups, different levels. I see 2008, 2012, laptop stickers. Person came in from customer service into the MDF to go grab a box. I'm like, wow. This one says, do not shut off the laptop with the sticky on it. This one has the password on there. And I said, what happened with the other staff? I was told, and this was a pretty big company, I was told that they had 2 security breaches already. The most recent one was a ransom attack. And I stopped, and I thought about it. I said, wow, I can see why. And he said, I want you to secure all of this. I want you to get this fixed up. I need to get our systems updated. I don't care how much it costs. And I was like, I got it, I'll do it. And then afterwards, he said, go ahead, settle in. I remember at the end of the day, I called up my old instructor. I said, I don't know what I just got into. This is a mess. I can't do it. Imposter syndrome kicked in real quick. He said, Trey, remember when you said you didn't want to do cybersecurity? You're a cybersecurity expert now. I stepped back and I thought about something prolific. I thought about cyber. I thought about the military. I thought about how wars were fought. Bombs, bullets, missiles, guns, oh my. The soldiers, my dad, soldiers, uncles, soldiers, family members, I'm surrounded by soldiers. But that was the old days. Today, with the stroke of a key, everything can go down. Grids, cities, infrastructures, everything. And you know what that told me at that moment at that job? Although I'm no longer in the Air Force, although I'm no longer in law enforcement, I'm a new soldier now. I'm a cybersecurity soldier. No one ever thinks about that. You are soldiers in cybersecurity. Because guess what? When those attacks happen, they're not looking for guns or bullets. They're looking for that cybersecurity specialist to go out there and to bring the systems back up. That's what we're here to do. Every single day, there's an attacker out there looking to infiltrate and exfiltrate our networks. When you think about that for a second, think about the security of a password. I have a cybersecurity rule about passwords. Treat them like your toothbrush. Change it often, never share it. And I say that because in life, there are things that are going to need to be protected, our assets. So for me, when I looked at that moment, that defining moment for my cybersecurity journey, when I decided to get my certifications and move forward within my career, I knew that I was curious. I knew that we had a system that you have to be very cautious with. And I know things are going to break. I said at the end of the day, I may not be the auto mechanic, even though I am at home. I am a cybersecurity IT specialist, which is there's a lot of things broken and a lot of things that need to be fixed. So for me, it's an exciting moment. It's an exciting time for what's going through right now. I know it may sound crazy, but when I hear a breach, it actually excites me. Because something's broken and need to be fixed, and I like to fix broken things. Someone said, how do you explain your job? I fix broken things and broken situations and try to get them better. And so I want you to think about this. Think about it's 3 a.m. at a data center. You have security guards on duty. Late night shift. During this time, it gets kind of relaxed. Not that many employees flowing through, so that gives him time to mess around, do his rounds. Take a little bit longer than extra. But think about the employees that are coming through the parking lot. There's one employee, or appears to be an employee, just standing by, stand and watch. If security had been doing his job, he would recognize this person. Recognize and see if this person will be a potential threat. Another employee, she's getting out of her car. This is her out of her car. This is her walking into the building. He's doing reconnaissance. He's watching her every move, looking for weaknesses. He walks up behind her. Not too close, but close enough to look, hey, how you doing? She's like, She opens the door, badge in. He catches the door with his foot, walks in like it's no big deal, smiling. Security guard from a distance can kind of see why he's over there flirting around. He can kind of see at the front door, but not really paying attention. The employee walks through, the other guy walks through. Next thing you know, in the distant future, security guard gets to his desk. He's wondering why he's getting all these alerts. Red flags, why is IT contacting him? Why is the IT manager contacting him? Why isn't the cameras working? He's having issues with his computer. He's not able to go on the internet. Guess what? Weaponization, installation, just happened. That guy that was in there, he's long gone. They just got a breach. And that's what this talk is about. The physical security meets the cybersecurity. We talk a lot about cyber, but we forget about the physical sometimes when it comes to smaller companies. And I get that. I understand that. But this is something I want to press upon everyone. Your tools is only as good as the person behind them. You can have a firewall that can block an IP address in China, but a firewall can't say, hey, stop! You can't go there. You can have a camera recorded in 4K, but if that camera's not pointing in the right direction, if someone's not monitoring it, if you don't have a system in place to catch logs and events, the camera itself can't say, you're not allowed to touch that door. You can't go in there. We have to bridge both worlds to secure our environments. Because I tell you what, the attacker, he's not Harvey Dent. He's not flipping a coin to say, is it physical or cyber? Physical today, maybe tomorrow, let me do 2 out of 3. No. They're looking to gain access, physical and cyber, one or the other or both. Whatever is the easiest way to infiltrate and exfiltrate, as I always like to say. So when we move forward, when we talk about this, we have to ask ourselves, physical security, why should I care? Because most organizations are still not focused on that. I know there's always that issue with, what does my budget look like? Can we afford it? I'll say this, especially in the IT world. We're always dealing with budget, we're working on bare bones. But when a breach happens, who's the first one to become full-time customer? They're gonna say, what did you do? What didn't you do to make the change happen? And when you think about these attackers, you think about the physical security. You have the security guards, you have the SOC analysts, security engineers, the CISOs, you have everyone on that side. But there's like a separation, compartmentalized. No one's together, it's separate, so you get the fight. It's IT's job, it's facilities' job. It's not my job, not my problem. But when everybody looks and see that they don't have a job anymore, then that's when everyone becomes worried. And I say this as I go further on with this speech about how do we stop physical and cybersecurity hybrid attacks. I want you to think about your home. Imagine you don't lock the doors at night. Imagine you don't have your Ring camera. Imagine someone walks into your home. How would you feel knowing that someone got into your home because you didn't lock the doors? You didn't check your Ring camera or pay the subscription. How would you feel knowing that someone went into your home and violated your area? That's a physical attack. What happens next, it depends on what that attacker does. We're not trying to find out. So the point of entry, especially in the military, the first point of entry is making sure that your facility is secure. That was one of the things that my dad always impressed upon us, making sure that everything was secure. Just as an example, I remember as a kid, we were going home, and my dad said, "There's someone in our house. We're not going in there." I'm like, "How do you know?" He's like, "Get in the car. We're not going inside of the house." My dad had his own protocol. He knew that if the lights were on, or certain lights were on, certain doors were open, he knew that something wasn't right because he had a certain protocol. And as a kid, of course, I believed in him. You go down the street, because you have to go to a payphone back then, call the cops. Guess what? There was someone inside of our bathroom with a gun. That right there made an impression on me for the rest of my life. Every night before I go to bed, I make sure my front door is locked. I make sure the entryway to my garage is locked. I make sure that my vehicle is locked. I make sure that even I have a camera in my garage. Why? Because someone can open your garage door. They can get into your vehicle because they know people leave it unlocked or your entryway door unlocked. Your front door, you may forget about it. And I bring you to understand that in the corporate world, this is how we have to see it too. Secure the business like you secure your home, and you do the best that you can. You cannot lose in this matter. There's no way that you can lose. So when we talk about hybrid attacks, what is a hybrid attack? It's basically when an attacker uses physical access to gain entry, and from that point uses his cyber methods of attack. And there are certain attacks that are similar to cyber that you may say, and some that are not cyber, but the end base with is cyber. It's our technology. It's our logical side of the business. And we got to think about this. Think about someone tailgating into a facility. Think about someone plugging a rogue device into an RJ45 jack or an unmanaged port if they can get it to the NDF like where I've worked at before. Think about badge cloning. And I say all of these because I know some of us have worked in IT roles where you're the jack of all trades. So you probably created some badges, you probably dealt with some servers, some camera servers, you probably dealt with some printers. Anything that you touch, you ask yourself, am I responsible for this? If I'm responsible for this, even if it's not in the budget, let me go find a tool online, an open source tool, so I can monitor this, so I can watch it, and I can cover myself and let my boss know, because if something goes down, at least I cover my tracks. That's one of the bases I want you to think about, is covering your tracks. Because as we move on, I want to talk about what I call the familiar face. This is a story of a previous place that I've worked at. What happened here, we had a former IT guy. The company was small to mid-size, so they had approximately 5 sites scattered across. But the processes that were in play anyone that's looking from the outside can find the weaknesses. And given that, there were things going on with the company and with the IT staff. A lot of IT staff had more privileges than they needed. So privileged access management was a joke there. There were ghost accounts, ghost admin accounts. There were ghost badge cards. A lot of stuff going on. There were accounts that couldn't even get erased because of whoever was the previous staff. In this specific situation, we had an IT person who actually was terminated. So he decided to go to one of the sites a couple of weeks later because he had something that he wanted to give. He had a present for the site. So when he walked to that site that he doesn't normally go at, but he's usually there to do extra stuff to work on some of the servers, maybe some of the switches, he do little small tasks. And generally you're supposed to check in or alert security when you're gonna go there, but they really don't care. So he went there, walked into the parking lot. People knew him, friendly guy. If you met him off the streets, you'll love him. He's talking, gets in there. He even has his badge ready to go. He didn't even have the badge yet. Man, come on through. He walked through. Security noticed him. Hey man, how was that game last week? Oh, you know how the game went? Just that chatter. No questions asked. Just smiles and chats. And he walked through, goes, gets his coffee, waits. He waits in the break room. And after he waited in the break room, he decided to go badge in. He was able to get into the MDF, the IT hub. From there, he decided to see if he could log in with his admin credentials. Not his actual ones, but the ghost one. So he logs in, does his little work, and leaves. I know this sounds identical to the other story. The difference between the first story I told you was that there was an exfiltration done on that situation. This one, it wasn't an actual exfiltration. It was damage. By the time he had left out of the building, it took the company a while to figure out what was going on because there was a problem. The cameras in the NDF never worked, never got fixed. The camera outside of the front door was just a ghost camera to scare people away. So the only two cameras that actually was at this facility was one in the break room, which wasn't that great of a quality because the company didn't want to upgrade, and another one that was angled in the lobby where you can catch it a little bit, but not enough. And I remember my boss at the time was saying, we need to upgrade our camera systems. We need to get on track with cybersecurity. And I remember they let him go because he was causing too much confusion, wouldn't go over the budget. They wanted to let him go. It seems that when you talk about preventive maintenance, as I call it, some companies will budge, some won't. In the end, when that breach happens, oh, now the budget opens slowly. It's Christmas time now. But it wasn't Christmas time until this happened. And now, just to go over this slide before I even go more into this wonderful story of a breach, we have the still active badge. That goes back to where I was talking about where the badges, they had ghost accounts, so he used one of those. Physical entry. Walked through, he was recognized. No escort, not challenged, all smiles. System access. He used an old admin account. Operational impact. He disrupted the backups, pulled out a few cords, a few reboots, messed up some configurations, and the downtime was crucial for this company because it also interrupted their phone system too. So customers were calling in, but they couldn't hear them. Orders couldn't be processed through their CRMs. A lot of stuff went bad. And you say, think about this. It wasn't a specific cyber attack as I call it. I call this the physical hybrid attack. Why was it physical and why was it cyber? What did he do? He did reconnaissance. What was his reconnaissance in this situation? Clone badges. Extra credentials. What was the next step that he utilized in this? Weaponization. His weaponization was that badge. But he didn't even have to use it yet until he went into the MDF. What was his next step? Delivery. He delivered it with a smile. We hear about the phishing campaigns through emails, social engineering attacks, but this is the physical one that lines perfectly up with the scenario. What did he do next? Installation. What did he do? He walked in with his badge, logged in with his credentials, and went to town. He was upset because he was let go. He didn't like it, so he thought that he was going to make the company suffer. It is a cyber attack because it's the network that was disrupted. Because in this case, he did not need the malware to make it happen. He was the malware. Those are things that we have to look at when it comes to cyber, when it comes to the physical world. And I believe the way we start to bridge this gap, we have to ask ourselves, just as we do in the tabletop exercise, what went wrong? What can we do? How can we play out the scenario? Is there any case studies that we can go by? I've sat in rooms where individuals just sat there quietly. No one did anything or said anything. And I admit that in my early stages of my IT career, I did get a little bit lazy, where I would just sit there at the computer because there was nothing to do, or scroll through my phone. And I had a friend who came to me and said, Trey, I see you knock out the stuff here real fast. You fix things fast. You have a lot of time. Why don't you use that time to learn more? Push yourself harder. And when he said that, it reminded me of my dad who used to tell me the same thing. You have all the potential. Push harder. So I started to learn, educate myself besides school. And when I did that, it made me see a bigger picture. Because I can either be the IT guy who sits there right along until something happens and I don't know what happens. I'm not kept up on technology, I'm not kept on security, and I fall off. And some people will blame everyone but themselves. Although the company may not pay for everything, invest in yourself. So when I look at this situation right here, when I say, where did the defense break down? Can anyone in here tell me, what do you think the defense broke down in that situation where the ex-employee was able to get in? Just one situation.
Off-boarding?
Exactly. Another one?
Communication.
Exactly. Another one. Say that again? Exactly. You can think of a million things after you hear a scenario. Now imagine before this situation happens. I want to add to that. When we think about it, I think about the fact that what software do we have in play that we can actually audit ghost accounts, audit badges. And when I think about that, if we had that in play, that one badge, that one login could have prevented a network shutdown, which took the business offline. Another situation I think about is the onboarding process. When we think about that, what happened? The guy was terminated. What happened to his access? Was his access still available? Do we even know? Is there a process? So we go into the cyber side of his admin account, other admin accounts. By utilizing the correct software, what are we checking for behavioral? Are we using UBA? Are we using SIM tools? Are we using so? We're not using none of it. None of it. Now the company wants it fixed. Wants to know what happened. Took a while to figure out what the shady camera systems. It's not so much of, are we going to spend $30,000 on getting a milestone or Linnell camera system versus the simple system here that's not even a name brand? Are we utilizing these tools that's going to be able to be effective, to be able to stop those attacks? How do we move forward with that? The defense broke down the simple plain facts. There wasn't a process in play, didn't have the right equipment, verification wasn't done. Trust, but always verify. Don't just let someone in through the door. Verify that. I remember the first rule that they taught us in the Air Force in boot camp. If that person at the door does not show their ID, and you cannot identify them, do not let them through the door. I don't care if they beat on the door, bang on the door, curse you out, because that did happen to me when I had torn guard duty. Sergeant was all in that window, and I was like, sir, I cannot let you in. And that's all I kept saying. And he kept showing the badge, had it half covered up. Security, the first breach of entry. That's how important that is. That is so easily overlooked. Once that attacker gets access into your facility, it's open game. Let's be real. People are unpredictable. We don't know what the behaviors are of an individual. Person may be stressed out, may not know this. Person may not know because they're not even aware. But the best thing that we can start off with is security awareness training. As cybersecurity professionals, we have that ability to do, to start right there. The training, to let them know what to look out for. There is software out there, open source software, if a company is not going to pay for it, that we can utilize to be able to do audits on passwords. You look for duplicate accounts. We have that ability to deal with Active Directory to see if everyone is compartmentalized and have the correct PAM, privileged access management. We have that ability right there. What else could we have done to stop it? The camera system. We can say we need a camera system, but in corporate, they want to know why. How much does it cost, and what are we going to benefit from it? The return on investment. They need to know that. They need to know that, guess what? This camera system here, it's not going to work. When someone tries to break in, not if, when they try to break in, however much money this company makes, we're losing that per day. Show them where the bottom line hits. That's how we can help to stop some of these measures, because it's easy to say that it's not in my budget, so it's not my problem. But it's even more challenging to be proactive, to step up to the plate, to show the company that we're taking extra steps. So when you do have that issue where there's cloned accounts, that's when you go to your boss. Where I went to the VP of technology, my boss at the time when I became IT manager, I said, this is what I discovered. Here's my report. Here's our daily stand-up. This is what I found out. This is what's going on. Because that's what backs you up. I've learned in the military, I learned in law enforcement, CYA. My goal is to keep my job, and my goal is to keep the building secure. Because that takes care of myself and my family. And that means that I have to upgrade my skill set even when the company's not going to pay for it. That means I have to look out for the company even if they're not going to look out for their best interests. Because they don't know IT. We're the jack of all trades. You're a cybersecurity specialist? Oh, guess what? You're changing passwords. You're doing patchwork today. Oh, wait a minute. We have a project for you. I don't know what I want, but I want you to figure out what I want right here. That's what we are. We're the jack of all trades, no matter what your position is. Because to be honest, I've been an IT manager, but I did more cybersecurity as an IT manager than I ever did in my life. When I became a software support engineer, I thought I would just be dealing with code. Guess what? I'm dealing with broken code, I'm dealing with testing software, I'm dealing with secure code, everything in IT. And I like to say IT cybersecurity is all intertwined. You've been using these tools your whole career. And if you're new to this, you will be using all these tools in your career. So you will have to gain an understanding of how does all of this work. Firewalls is not just network administrator problems. SIM tools is not just network administrator problems. IT monitoring is not just IT engineer problems. or entire department that incorporates it. Because if you work for small companies, such as what I have, I've done everything, no matter the role, to large companies, or even in a compartmentalized role, there were still pieces that have to be done. So when we bring this back to how can we have stopped it, we have to be proactive on top of that. We have to see what our weaknesses are and see what the company's willing to do to make that change and see what we can add on. And if for some reason, let's just say we can't figure it out, did you write it down? Did you have a talk with someone about it? And explain how this could cause an effect to the company to open up someone's ear. That's some of the things that we have to look for. And when I think about red flags in business, as IT, we see a lot of things. When I went to my first IT job, when I saw the coffee cup right there on the desk, when I saw the post-it that had the password on there, and another post-it that said, do not turn this computer off. And this is a mixture of laptops, servers, and whatever else they had going on in there. But guess who was to blame no matter what? IT. They've gotten rid of 2 sets of staff, but the equipment's still the same. No changes were made. Paychecks were given, paychecks were taken away. And why is that? Because we have to stay proactive. We have to look for the red flags within the organization to see what's wrong and how can we fix it. It's not just enough to have a lesson learned after all the damage has been done. What damage control have we done to prevent a lot of this? So as we move forward in our careers, you have to remember, we're going to be jack of all trades no matter what position that you hold in cybersecurity. We're going to be looked at as the experts, because when you look at the stakeholders for a corporation, they're not the expert. They hired us. So when things go wrong, they think that we don't know what we're doing. We're not doing our jobs. This is a tough field, but an exciting field at the same time, because if you have a self-starter mentality, you'd be a superstar. I've held so many roles within this area, I can't even count them. I've bounced between being a manager, back to being an engineer, back to being a manager, back to being a project manager. One of my favorite roles was being a senior project manager for security engineering, because I got to see a lot of the broken processes, but also at the point of being there at the beginning of it, the scope of it, to see what we need to implement to make it happen. Continue to grow your career. Don't let another employee hold you back, because they can't hold you back. Only you can stop you. Because there's going to be disgruntled people that's not going to like you, like what you do or your processes. Do your job. Do it effectively. Those are some tools that I've learned over the years. Do it effectively. Learn what's out of the norm. Stay on top of it. I always say if we have time to scroll through our phones, when we're at work, we have time to look up something constructive on our phones. Find someone you like on YouTube that does IT. Find a cohort. You'll be amazed at how many cohorts that I've been through and still go through and still work through when it comes to it. I believe in educating ourselves. If this is your chosen field, what you know right now is outdated. That's your first red flag. What you know now is outdated. It's a red flag. And as you think about the red flags, I want you to see another one. It's called automation. I know this scares a lot of us in this field when we think about automation. I'll be real. I was thinking, man, my job is gonna get taken away. This automation AI is gonna kill us. And I get in my moments, and I had to shut up after a minute. I said, Trey, you know that the field is changing. A little bit over 100 years ago, there was a blacksmith. I mean, fixing wagons, shoeing horses, all of that stuff. He said to himself, I don't want to learn how to fix a car. I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. No one's going to buy that. I'm going to stick to what I'm doing. I don't care. A few years go by, a few years again, in the early 1900s, cars are coming about. He's still stubborn. stubborn as I don't know what, wondering why no one's coming to his services. And then one day, he had to shut down because he didn't adapt. When I thought about that, I thought about we have to adapt. We're called the jack of all trades. Think about utilizing automation to your advantage being the jack of all trades. I thought about that a couple of years ago. I said they have me doing all these monotonous tasks that I don't like to do. I'm not a fireman, but I respect firemen. I don't want to put out fires all day. I don't. I have too many projects to work on. What if I automate the task that are holding me back so I can focus on a task that I need to get done? Maybe I shouldn't have to change these passwords all the time. We have this thing called MFA. Maybe I should utilize the MFA process right there. And it's more secure. And the employees don't have to change their password every 90 days and you get that one who keeps always forgetting it. Maybe I should create a system that has FAQs in there for them. If you forget your password, click here. If you do this, you do that. The automation task. Now, when I bridge that automation into what we're talking about today, into the physical and the cyber side, badge lifecycle automation. I think that's the coolest thing. What does it do? What is badge lifecycle automation? Does anyone here know what it does? Exactly. Automates that entire system so that person that has that badge, when they get terminated, the process automatically, when HR hits their button, it disables all the badges, disables all their accesses. Now, we move on to privilege deprovisioning. We have to be proactive in giving people the correct privileges. Everyone isn't an admin. We cannot make everyone an admin. We have to have role-based access control going on. That's the first thing that you should do when you go in your job, is making sure that everyone has correct access. And if you're not in that department, that's when you talk to IT about that. Because what happens is, if everyone has the correct access, when that person is terminated or if that person quit, all their accesses go away, everything. Next, we have camera door syncing. Now, camera door syncing, when you think about this, it's able to detect the person if they no longer are employed at that particular site or company, period. So for instance, when we had the IT engineer, when he walked through, that camera, if the camera was working, they would have picked up on him, because every employee that is terminated because of the badge life cycle automation shows that that badge has been deactivated. Security sees it right there at their desk. This person should not be here, even if they badge in or don't badge in. And we have logs to be able to look this up and verify a lot quicker than trying to figure out what's going on if we have backups. Now, another thing, immutable backups. I know larger companies have this, but when you talk about smaller companies, because there's a lot of smaller companies out there that don't automate their backup process. So you have someone that go in there manually do it every once in a while, and I've done it. I've done manual backups, and it sucks. Do you want to spend your first couple of hours backing up everything on a blog, over here backing up all these security servers, backing up all these cameras? That is a monotonous task that I can say that I could not stand doing, backing up. But if it was automated, I could focus on that one that the CFO kept bothering me about a project. That's where you use automation to your advantage. And when we talk about insider analytics, UBA, checking for behavioral patterns. When we utilize tools like this, that's where you have this employee who has a ghost account who's been logging in before he even, came to the site. Because he knew that there was no checks and balances in. Did it check for behavior patterns? When we talk about SOAR, when we talk about SIM, when we talk about these tools here, utilized in cybersecurity right here, a lot of that stuff could have been prevented, and it has automation built into it. And I will say this as cybersecurity professionals here today. Learn automation. Learn AI. Use it as a helper to help you in a situation. Because I know that as times are changing, This is just like the blacksmith. Either we adapt and pivot or don't and perish. Because a company is going to look for the next expert that's willing to automate, is willing to learn AI, was willing to take the next steps and move forward when it comes to this. Because when I think about the whole situation, as we close this up, we have to think about our next move. We got to figure out how we're going to close the gap before it's exploited. When we think about the line between physical security and cybersecurity, the wall is thin. It's very thin. We're not just protecting a system. We're protecting businesses. We're protecting livelihoods. We're protecting access, infrastructures, grids. Oh my. And we have to be diligent when it comes to this area. Because I've said before that wars are not going to be truly fought by missiles, bullets, or bombs. Cyber war. And where there's a war, there's a soldier that's needed. Anyone within cyber is a soldier. So we have to bridge both worlds of when it comes to doing audits. Unifying IT, HR, and security, and having the correct protocols for when someone is offboarded to make sure that all things are processed properly. Everyone should know what's going on. Failure to communicate will bring down a business quicker than anything. The lack of communication is where failure starts in anything in life. When we don't know what's going on, the other person don't know what's going on, the next natural move that we tend to do is place blame. And although blame can be placed, it doesn't resolve the issue. Just like the attacker, we have to be preemptive with our strikes. The attacker cannot just be one step ahead of you. We must be 2 steps ahead of them. Running drills is crucial. Why? Because you have new employees. You have veteran employees who still don't know or who are not up to date. So when something goes down, they're like, I don't know. We have to stay up on our training. We have to continue to do drills because when it happens, we got to be prepared to act upon it. Because in this new world that we're living in, the 5th industrial age, automation, AI, and attackers are all lined up. That's the AAA. Automation, AI, attackers. And the first line of defense is everyone. We all play a role in this. So let's keep our paychecks. Let's keep growing. Let's become the better specialists that we've ever been before. Not give up. Don't let the employees who's been there too long, who's given up, allow you to take on that energy. Be you. Be bold and be brave because you are that soldier. So I want to thank you all.